Volodymyr Zelensky failed to secure Tomahawk missiles from the US after a meeting with Donald Trump at the White House on the weekend. But as Sky security and defence analyst Michael Clark explains, Ukraine is now using British Storm Shadow missiles against Russia.
Up until last week, it seemed that Ukraine would be able to buy Tomahawk missiles from the United States. They're a very capable missile, capable of striking deep into Russia. And that worried the Russians. And President Putin got in first with a 2-hour phone call to President Trump in which he got him off the idea of selling Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. So when Zelensky went to Washington last Friday, not only did he not get Tomahawk cruise missiles, but Trump seemed to have changed his position completely. And now he said, whereas previously he'd argued that the Ukrainians could really do very well and prevail in this conflict, now he said that you're finished, the Russians will completely obliterate you, you've got to go for Russian terms now while you still can. And Russian terms really mean surrender. So Zelensky left the White House without any Tomahawk cruise missiles and with bad blood again between him and President Trump. However, he does have Storm Shadow missiles. These are sort of Storm Shadows carried on aircraft. And last night, in a series of big attacks across many Russian regions, the Ukrainians made it very clear that they used Storm Shadow to attack a chemical factory in Bryansk. And that chemical factory is quite important because it produces explosives and rocket fuel for all of the weapons which the Russians are using night after night in these big massed air attacks against Ukrainian cities to try to take out the whole energy infrastructure of Ukraine before the winter really sets in, making a really miserable winter for the Ukrainian population. And the politics of this is very interesting because the three presidents, Trump and Putin and Zelensky, are all trying to demonstrate something by these weapons. President Putin is demonstrating that he will not stop. President Zelensky is demonstrating that he has European support and he's not finished. And President Trump, in one sense, he's going round in circles, but in another sense, he's not, because he seems to be on his way out of this war. And that suggests a split in the transatlantic relationship between the United States and the European powers who have to support Zelensky. And if that is the case, that split will be the most important element in European security since the establishment of NATO in 1949.